You are listening to socialtv.co.za with myself, Nokuthula Khwela. In our top stories, Global Citizen announces Power Our Planet live in Paris, and Uganda enacts harsh anti-LGBTQ law including death penalty. Starting off with our top story, Global Citizen, the world's leading international advocacy organization on a mission to end extreme poverty now, announced its return to the iconic Champ de Mars in Paris on Thursday, 22 June 2023, with Power Planet live in Paris. A free ticketed event, Power Planet live in Paris, will feature performances from Lenny Kravitz, Billie Eilish, Her, John Batista, and special guest Ben Harper, Finis, and Mosiman to drive commitments from world leaders and the private sector to confront the climate crisis head-on. Under the high patronage of Emmanuel Macron, President of the French Republic, Power Planet Live in Paris will rally global leaders attending the new Financial Pact Summit chaired by President Macron. The Power Planet campaign, which is co-chaired by Prime Minister Mia Mottley of Barbados, is calling for a seismic shift in the way the world's financial system works to give the world's poor and developing nations access to the financing they urgently need to quicken their transition to clean energy, strengthen their resilience against natural disasters, and address their most urgent needs. Increased access to financing would help boost governments' ability to resist climate change by, for example, helping 1.5 million farmers in Zambia withstand climate disasters like droughts and floods, protecting 1.8 million hectares of land in Ghana by 2030, ending deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon by 2030, and strengthening the resilience of national electric grids in island nations like Antigua and Barbuda to withstand Category 5 hurricanes. Moving on to our next story, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni signed one of the world's toughest anti-LGBTQ laws, including a death penalty for aggravated homosexuality, drawing Western condemnation and risking sanctions from aid donors. Same-sex relations were already illegal in Uganda, as in more than 30 African countries, but the new law goes further. It stipulates capital punishment for serial offenders against the law and transmission of a terminal illness like HIV and AIDS through gay sex. It also decrees a 20-year sentence for promoting homosexuality. The Ugandan president has today legalized state-sponsored homophobia and transphobia, said Claire Bairugaba, a Ugandan rights activist. The inclusion of the death penalty for offenses like transmitting HIV has drawn particular outrage internationally. Existing Ugandan law calls for a maximum 10-year sentence for intentionally transmitting HIV and does not apply when the person who contracted the infection was aware of their sexual partner's HIV status. By contrast, the new law makes no distinction between intentional and unintentional transmission and contains no exception based on awareness of HIV status. The amended version of the bill, adopted earlier this month after Museveni returned it to Parliament, stipulated that merely identifying as LGBTQ is not a crime and revised a measure that obliged people to report homosexual activity to only require reporting when a child is involved. Presented since 1979, the Venus architecture, La Biennale di Venezia is possibly the most influential architecture exhibition in the world. For the first time, this year's edition is curated by an African architect, Leslie Loko. She has ensured that a strong African presence is a central feature of the show. Indeed, the 2023 exhibition is part of an undeniable shift towards a more just representation in global architecture. The Biennale, a cultural institution established as early as 1895, is a manifestation of a world order established by European imperialism. It is an international platform for a network of powerful academic and professional groups, material producers, construction firms, developers, and public authorities. They come together in Venice to show and discuss their work. The Biennale relies heavily on private sponsors, and numerous countries host their own pavilions in Venice. While an African curator has no influence over these pavilions, she has ample latitude to determine the shape of the main pavilion and its exhibitions, the Force Majeure, and the Dangerous Liaisons section. In our final story, the United Nations received pledges of $2.4 billion on Wednesday to help fund aid operation for some 32 million people across Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, but the donations fell short of what the UN was seeking as it was warned against a possible catastrophe. the UN has appealed for more than $7 billion for the three countries, but prior to Wednesday's pledging conference, Somalia was just 25% funded, Ethiopia 22%, and Kenya just 21%. The United Nations describes the Horn of Africa as the epicenter of one of the world's worst climate emergencies. According to the World Health Organization and UNICEF, some 40,000 died during a drought in Somalia last year. Half were children under the age of 5. The United States made the top pledge, an additional $524 million, taking its total for fiscal 2023 to some $1.4 billion. The European Commission pledged $185 million, Germany $163 million, Britain $120 million, and the Netherlands $92 million. To recap our top stories, Uganda enacts harsh anti-LGBTQ law, including death penalty. For more CSI news, you can visit our website at www.socialtv.co.za.